How's it going, backpackers? Dave here with Off Grid. I'm into backpacking, hiking, camping, and gear. And today's video is going to be all about different things that you can do to prep for your backpacking trips. Now, if you are new to the backpacking space, you definitely want to watch this video so that you can be the best prepared before you head out there. And if you are more of a seasoned backpacker, then you're also going to want to probably brush up on your skills, and we can all be better, let's face it, at our skills before we head out into the backcountry. So you might want to listen to this one as well. But let's just dive right into the different tips that I have for you today. Now, the first one I have for you is to say that most of the gear that you have, you should try to aim to already have it ready to go. And what that basically means is once you kind of get your gear dialed in for 3 season and 4 season, if you're going out in 4 season type of conditions, then you already kind of know what a lot of your gear is from like a base weight perspective. So obviously it's not applicable to all the things that are in your pack, but you want to basically keep all of the stuff that you can already kind of like in your pack and ready to go. The worst thing that you can do is kind of like just come home and just have a gear explosion all over the place, have things in different rooms, things like that. Another tip there is to kind of just like keep everything consolidated to a certain degree, like have a gear closet or a gear shelf, just a consolidated area where you can kind of just keep everything together so you know where it is, right? So just kind of keep it a little bit more neat. So I guess that's kind of like 2 in 1 right there. It's the twofer. So have a lot of your gear ready to go, and then have it kind of like collected and all in the same area. Now, some of the things you're not going to be able to do in that regard. So like down, you're never going to want to keep compressed, so you want to leave that outside of your backpack and leave it lofted. Same thing with like a puffy jacket, or you know, if you're like me, I like a compressible pillow rather than an inflatable pillow. Most people with inflatable pillows, you can keep those obviously in your pack and kind of ready to go. But a compressible pillow, you want to keep that lofted as well, so that you know, it doesn't get all squashed and compressed. So there's other things too that you can prep for with these bullet points, like, you know, if you're a certain type of backpacker, like I'm a weekend warrior, for example, then I know that most of my trips that I go out on is going to be sort of like from like a Friday to a Sunday. So, you know, you can even leave some stuff in your, you know, bear bag, food bag, stuff like that. Like throw a couple of dehydrated meals in there. You almost kind of like get into a rhythm. So that's part of the tip too, is to just kind of get into a rhythm and, you know, pack as much as you can so that you're not leaving all that stuff for the end, you know, while you're prepping for the trip. You know, you don't want any last minute items to kind of sneak in there. Now, for this next section I'm going to go over, there's going to be some of the things that you may need to do for your trip like days in advance. So, you know, a lot of these tips you have to kind of like think of days before you even go out there. It's definitely not last minute. And if you are trying to cram all these in last minute, I've been a victim of this as well, then you definitely get like super anxious, overexcited, and you're not going to sleep well that night before a trip. So having everything ready to go obviously is ideal. So for this section, let's kind of jump into the rest of the bullet points here. The first of which, to give you a little bit more explanation, is you want to prep food like days before. So especially if it's a dehydrated meal and you like dehydrated meals, it really depends on where you can get them from. Like some people just have like an REI right down the street, and they can go and pick up a few from there. They don't particularly have like great options for a lot of different makers. So if you're into other options that you can't get at an REI or a backpacking store or like a camping store, then you're gonna have to get that like weeks in advance, right? So especially like the dehydrated meals, definitely you want to get as early as possible. But the other stuff to kind of like fill it out, your snacks, your drinks, drink mixes, all those other kind of things, you could probably get at, you know, either off of Amazon or Walmart or your local grocery store. Again, try to think of that as many days in advance and kind of pre-plan all of your food and drink items. The next one to kind of prep days before, and hopefully days before, you don't have to, you can wait on this one. A lot of people wait on this one. I've been a victim of it as well, and that is for your electronics. Also to kind of go along with that, like an adjunct would be your subscriptions. So electronics, what I mean by that, you got your battery bank, you've got maybe a watch that you take with you, maybe a Gigapump / FlexTail pump lantern combo. What else? Your headlamp. Anything that you're gonna have that has a battery, make sure you jack that up to 100%. Definitely your cell phone, obviously, right? But the caveat here would be your subscription. So if you really don't want to worry about it, and if you go on plenty of trips throughout the year, then you can do something like a yearly subscription with Garmin, Zoleo, any of the other satellite devices that are out there. Almost all of them you have to pay a yearly price for, just to kind of like activate it for the year. But for the rest of the year, and I would love to go on a trip like multiple times, a month if I could, but that's not the reality of the situation that I'm living in. So, I don't go on as many trips as I would like to throughout the year. So if you're going on, less frequent trips, maybe like a weekend a month or something like that, then I would definitely urge you to not go for the yearly, and then maybe consider what the other pricing plans are. And you might just have to activate it on a monthly basis. Maybe you skip a month or something like that. So definitely, to save money, you're not going to want to go for the yearly subscription, so this is just a reminder to activate that subscription again before you head out there. It doesn't take that much time, especially after you set it up for the first time, but definitely a reminder for that. The next thing that you're going to want to prep for as well, hopefully days in advance, is going to be to load up your GPS maps. Now, I like to load it up in a couple of different areas because I'm not big on the paper maps. I'm always going to recommend people using paper maps, but I personally usually don't bring them with me because I have a couple of different forms of technology that I rely on. The first of which is my smartwatch. And that's, to this day, my most popular video that I've ever released, is how to load them up onto your smartwatch, especially like, I have the Garmin Instinct, so I have turn by turn on my watch. Not all watches do that, but if you have a watch that does that, definitely load it up to your watch. And then at the same time as well, if you have the ability to download those GPX files in an offline format, definitely load them up onto your phone as well. And then the GPS in most phones nowadays is pretty awesome. So between those two, I feel pretty confident before I head out there. But that's just another thing to keep in mind that you're going to want to do at least a day or two before you head out on that backpacking trip. And then the last thing that I have for you guys is in regards to sort of something that you should be doing part of when you come back from a backpacking trip, but definitely before you head out on a backpacking trip, and that is to clean any of your clothes. So now, I normally, if you're really good at it, you definitely make it a habit when you come home after a trip to just take all your dirty clothes, kind of unpack some of your pack, take out some of the nasty stuff that you want to clean or aerate or dry out or whatever, or loft back up again. So I definitely take all of my clothes, anything that's nasty, anything that I can wash in a washing machine, I'm definitely taking that out right away. But if you sit on it a little bit, you definitely don't want to keep it in your backpack, because then your backpack's going to smell nasty in your closet or whatever. So you definitely want to make sure that your clothes are cleaned. And then anything else too, like if your tent is particularly nasty and it's due for a wash, or any of your down products, your quilt or your puffy or whatever, that stuff usually takes a little bit longer to dry as well. It could take you the course of a couple of days to dry that stuff out. Like a tent, you might have to put it over a clothesline and keep flipping it over and stuff like that. And then down is just kind of tricky in and of itself. It's a whole nother video to try and explain how to dry that stuff out. So you definitely would need probably days for that stuff anyway to properly dry out before you shoved it back into a stuff sack and bring it out there with you. To kind of piggyback along with this last tip here, I would also mention permethrin, spraying down your clothes. You can also spray down your tent. I haven't found it particularly useful necessarily against certain bugs for your tent, but it definitely helps for ticks and other bugs on your clothes. And you're going to probably need at least a day before you head out there to do that as well. You don't want to be rushing for things like that either. So, and again, you know, the permethrin lasts about 6 weeks. So if you're not going out there that frequently, you have to kind of keep that in mind. It's either 6 washes or 6 weeks. So you have to keep that in mind. You know, which range do I fall into? Maybe I haven't gone out in a while. Well, I need to apply a fresh new coat on there. So that's pretty much going to do it for this list. There's a little bit of a wrap up here. I'm going to mention that obviously this isn't an all encompassing and comprehensive list. So definitely, if I missed anything down below, I want to hear all about it from you guys. What are some of the tips that you guys have that I missed in this one to provide to all the viewers out there in regards to any of those pre-planning tasks and checklists that you go through before you head out on your backpacking trips? I want to hear all about it. But thanks so much, guys, for watching this one this week. And remember, if you headed off grid, make sure you do your research and you make it a safe one. And if you're also interested in some other you know, hiking tips, I can throw those up right over here for you. And if you like this video, please give me the thumbs up and consider subscribing down below. And if you already have subscribed, thank you very much. You guys are awesome. But until next week, I'll see you on the next one.